welcome to Firstpost Live, where we bring you the day's top 4 stories from across the world. I am Gusheen Garland, live from the Firstpost studios. Let's begin with the headlines. North Korea fires multiple rockets into the Yellow Sea during a key ruling party meeting. South Korea's military says, calling it part of Pyongyang's winter exercises. US President Donald Trump insists prices are falling tremendously as he holds a campaign-style rally in Pennsylvania to confront rising public anger over the cost of living. Thailand says more than 180,000 people have been evacuated from 4 border provinces as fighting with Cambodia intensifies. Brazil's lower house passes a bill that could sharply cut former President Jair Bolsonaro's 27-year prison sentence for plotting a coup after chaotic scenes in parliament. Our lead story is about a new development between already sour Beijing-Tokyo ties. Japan is on high alert tonight after its Air Force scrambled fighter jets to track a large-scale joint patrol by Russian and Chinese military aircraft around its territory. Japan's self-defense forces released new images on December 9, showcasing multiple bombers and fighters flying close to Japanese airspace. According to Japan's defense ministry, 2 Russian Tu-95 nuclear-capable bombers flew from the Sea of Japan towards the East China Sea, where they joined 2 Chinese H-6 jets. The combined formation carried out what Moscow called a long-distance joint flight across the Pacific. The patrol lasted nearly 8 hours as they flew around Japan's Okinawa and Miyako Islands. For context, the Miyako Strait is a disputed international waterway, frequently used by Chinese naval and air assets. Japan's defense minister warns that the joint patrol was clearly intended as a show of force against their nation, calling it a serious security threat. The latest patrols follow a string of recent incidents. Last week, Tokyo claimed that the Chinese carrier-launched jets locked fire control radar on its F-15s near the Miyako Strait. Beijing strongly denied these claims, accusing Japan of harassing its aircraft during routine exercises.
Anyone with clear eyes can see that Japan is deliberately spreading and hyping false information in the military and security field at this time and stirring up tensions with ulterior motives. We strongly urge Japan to immediately stop dangerous actions that disturb China's normal training activities and stop all irresponsible false hype and political manipulation.
Beijing says Japanese fighter jets repeatedly approached and interfered with the Chinese Navy while it was carrying out what it describes as pre-announced carrier-based flight training east of the Miyako Strait. China claimed the drills were routine, legitimate, and conducted in accordance with international practice. In response, Japanese defense minister said China's version of events is inaccurate and misleading, stressing that Japan's F-15 fighters did not aim radar at any Chinese aircraft and that the self-defense forces were responding to what Tokyo considers an airspace violation.
On Saturday, December 6th, when the radar lock-on incident occurred, a Chinese naval vessel notified a Japan Maritime Self-Defense Force destroyer that it would commence flight training, and that notification was received. However, the self-defense forces received no specific information regarding the scale or airspace in which the Liaoning's carrier-based aircraft would conduct training. Furthermore, there was no NOTAM indicating the time, location, or latitude-longitude of the training, nor were any navigation warnings issued to vessels in advance. Consequently, there was insufficient information to avoid danger.
Tensions have been rising ever since Japanese Prime Minister Sanae Takaichi suggested that Tokyo could respond militarily if a Chinese operation against Taiwan threatened Japan's security. China lodged strong protests and issued economic and diplomatic warnings. Both China and Russia have expanded their defense partnership in recent years, conducting anti-missile drills, naval exercises in the South China Sea, and multiple joint air patrols around East Asia. Meanwhile, South Korea has reported similar activity. Its military said 7 Russian and 2 Chinese aircrafts entered the Korean Air Defense Identification Zone without prior notification. Though the aircraft did not violate South Korean airspace, they remained in the Korean Air Defense Identification Zone for about an hour before departing. South Korea claims Chinese and Russian military planes have entered the Korean Air Defense Identification Zone several times in the past 4 years without notice. And as Japan and China trade accusations over radar lock-ons and airspace harassment, Russia's growing military presence looms in the background, signaling a rapidly shifting security landscape in East Asia. Our next story is about a commodity that has stunned seasoned analysts. It's a metal that rarely steals the spotlight: silver. And right now, it's shining brighter than it has in almost half a century. Silver prices are exploding, and that puts it on track for its strongest 12-month surge since 1979. The metal has reached over $60 an ounce for the first time. To understand how unusual this is, imagine a long-term chart where past peaks in 2008 and 2020 look like tiny bumps. That's how steep the current climb is. Over the past trading sessions, silver has hit 5 fresh record highs. The precious metal has risen almost 21% in the last month and over 65% in the past 6 months. Prices have already almost doubled in 2025. And unlike many short-lived market spikes that rely on hype, this rally is built on something much more solid: demand. Silver today is a metal with two identities. Investors treat it like a safe place to park money when the world looks uncertain. But it is also a crucial industrial ingredient. It sits inside things we use every day and things the world is racing to build: batteries, switches, solar panels, semiconductors, satellites, medical devices, robotics, and advanced electronics. As the clean energy transition speeds up, silver has turned from a niche metal to an essential resource. That's where the problem begins. Industrial use has grown so fast that miners cannot keep up. Production simply isn't rising quickly enough to match the demand. And global stockpiles, especially in major vaults like London, have been shrinking as the US and India continue to buy aggressively. When demand keeps climbing and supply struggles to move, prices almost always rise. But this time, the climb is nearly vertical. This surge is also happening at a moment when the broader economic environment is shifting, and many investors no longer trust that the usual policy tools can solve deeper structural problems. So money is flowing into real assets, things you can't print, things that don't vanish with a policy change. Silver fits that definition, and unlike gold, it carries the bonus of being indispensable to modern technology. Meanwhile, gold itself also gained on Tuesday as traders eyed the Federal Reserve's interest rate decision due for later today. However, the metal logged some losses today, trading near $4,200. But silver's story is bigger than that. Analysts say this may not be a temporary spike. They see a structural imbalance: tight supply on one side, rising industrial use on the other. And that imbalance could last for years.
People are anticipating that there's going to be strong industrial demand for silver for years to come, which is why it's been bid up, the silver price.
Some analysts even argue that silver may be entering a new monetary era, one that echoes the late 1970s. The rhythm feels similar, but the scale is amplified by technology's growing appetite for the metal. For now, silver's rally is still accelerating, and the world is watching closely. Because when a metal that fuels both fear and innovation begins rewriting its own price history, the ripple effects rarely stay confined to the commodities market. Moving on, India is no longer warming up for the AI century. It's stepping onto center stage, drawing the world's most powerful tech leaders to New Delhi. One by one, tech CEOs are arriving with record-breaking commitments, vouching on India's vast talent, data, and digital ambition. And a critical push came from Microsoft. Satya Nadella, Microsoft CEO, met Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Microsoft committed over $17 billion to help build India's AI-first future. Nadella highlighted infrastructure, skills, and sovereign AI capabilities as the backbone of this new partnership. while Prime Minister Narendra Modi underlined that the world is optimistic about India and that young Indians will drive this AI revolution. From software to services, the momentum carried forward with Cognizant. Its top officials met the Indian minister to discuss accelerating AI adoption, expanding education and skilling programs, and taking growth deeper into emerging cities. Prime Minister Modi welcomed Cognizant's continued partnership, stressing that India's youth, with their focus on AI and upskilling, are setting the tone for a vibrant collaboration in the years ahead. The semiconductor story followed close behind. Intel CEO met Prime Minister Modi for a wide-ranging conversation on computing and India's chip ambitions. With India's semiconductor manufacturing and design policy taking firmer shape, Intel reaffirmed its commitment to India's semiconductor mission, signaling that India's push to become a global chip hub is now tightly linked with one of the world's biggest chip makers. And then earlier this morning, the most sweeping investment commitment came from Amazon, a company betting big on India's digital future. Amazon announced plans to invest over $35 billion in cloud computing and AI by 2030. Behind these numbers is a clear strategy: data centers, fulfillment networks, and AI-led tools that anchor Amazon firmly to the world's fastest-growing digital economy. The latest investment commitments come as OpenAI and Google continue to vouch on India's AI-driven future. OpenAI is in advanced talks to build 1 gigawatt AI center in India in partnership with Tata Consultancy Services. It has already launched ChatGPT Go, an India-exclusive plan offered free for 12 months, aimed at capturing the country's vast young English-speaking user base. Google, meanwhile, has already unveiled its biggest ever investment in India, a $15 billion AI center in Andhra Pradesh. All these announcements are part of a much bigger race, a race to capture not just the data, but the imagination of millions of Indian users. Microsoft is offering students free access to Copilot. OpenAI is providing years of ChatGPT's premium version for free on selected mobile operators. And Google is distributing premium Gemini access at a scale unmatched anywhere else in the world. Because companies aren't just looking at India as a market. They are looking at it as the engine of global AI era. India produces millions of machine learning and data science graduates every year. And with every CEO walking into the Prime Minister's office this week, India's AI moment grew a little louder and a lot more inevitable. Staying in India, authorities across Delhi, Noida and Gurugram have launched intensive fire safety inspections of restaurants, hotels and nightclubs. This follows the deadly blaze at a Goa nightclub that killed 25 people. The checks come as the festive season begins and large crowds are expected at hospitality venues. In Delhi, the fire service officials have identified around 900 establishments holding a no objection certificate or NOC. They will now verify whether they comply with all mandatory safety parameters. Officials stated that the inspections will be intensified ahead of Christmas and New Year. The Goa FIR had highlighted major lapses, from missing fire safety equipment to blocked exits and absent licenses, and those prompted similar action across the NCR.
ऐसे हादसे किसी कारण दोबारा ना हो, इसके लिए बहुत कठोरता से विभाग की लाइसेंसिंग प्रक्रिया की जांच, उसे रेगुलेट करना और उसे डीरेगुलेट करना, दोनों तरफ काम करने के लिए आज इस बैठक में चर्चा हुई है। किसी भी तरीके की कोताही लाइसेंसेस देने में, एजेंसियों के आपस में डाटा शेयर करने में जो गत वर्षों में चलती रही है, उसको हम बर्दाश्त नहीं करेंगे। इसके संदर्भ में मुख्यमंत्री जी स्वयं चिंतित हैं, हमने चर्चा की है और बहुत जल्द आप देखेंगे कठोर कानूनों के साथ डीरेगुलेट करते हुए सचेत हो और दंडात्मक प्रावधानों का हम अनुपालना दिल्ली में करवाएंगे।
Currently, Delhi has 891 NOC holding establishments, 801 restaurants, 52 hotels and 38 clubs. Premises over 90 square meters require fire clearance with renewals mandated every 3 to 5 years. In Gurugram, the police commissioner ordered an extensive audit for all bars, pubs, clubs and late-night restaurants with strict enforcement of occupancy limits and crowd control rules. Inspection teams will check emergency exits, entry-exit widths, security frisking protocols, and multiple exit points. Then in Noida, officials have inspected nearly 50 restaurants and bars so far through joint teams from the fire services, excise and electrical safety departments. The teams also assessed emergency exits, alarms, extinguishers, electrical load management, ventilation, gas cylinder handling, and crowd control measures. Minor deficiencies at some sites have already triggered corrective measures. In Lucknow, also the administration launched strict fire safety inspections of malls, restaurants, nightclubs, and bars across the city. Despite the ongoing crackdown, data highlights the scale of the challenge. Of Delhi, roughly 1,000 licensed eateries, hotels and clubs, reports say a very few of them hold a fire safety NOC. Fire experts warn that the gap leaves hundreds of establishments operating without mandatory checks, even as authorities rush to prevent a repeat of the Goa tragedy. That's all for today. Thank you for joining us. I am Gushin Galan and we'll see you right back here at the same time. Until then, stay informed and stay tuned to Firstpost.